Welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Each week, we bring you discussions with educators on how they use blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning to better serve their students. We believe teachers learn best from each other, so this is our way of lifting up the voices of leaders and innovators in our community. This is the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 183 of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. My name is Toni Rose, they, them pronouns, a designated hype person here at MCP. And y'all, I am so excited because we have a sophomore in high school. So we have a student perspective here as a guest, Sarahya College. And so I'm just so excited to have this conversation because I love students and I love hearing your experiences. So welcome, Sarahya. It's so exciting to be in this space with you. And thank you so much for saying yes to the podcast.
My freshman year was very, very easy. I've always been a really hard worker and always wanted to pursue to be the best. And I didn't like setting for like mediocre standards or any of that. And I always would reach for the A or reach for 100%. And when I wouldn't get that, I'd be very, very upset. I got to sophomore year and wow, did things change. Testing got so much harder. The learning was a lot more fast paced and I was honestly very, very overwhelmed at the beginning of the year. And I slowly just had to realize, I'm not perfect. And I just had to accept that and realize, no, I can just accept the best I can do.
Okay, so you have 7 courses. Yes. Right? And then you also have all of your extracurricular activities that you are participating in. How are you balancing your time? Like, that's a lot.
That's a really good question because the beginning of this school year, I was a mess. I did not know how to balance anything out. I would come home, have to do my homework for 2 hours and then get like 5 hours of sleep. Throughout the middle of the second quarter, I realized, okay, this is a mess and I need to realize that I can't keep doing it this way because my grades were dropping and all this. Honestly, I really invested in a planner and just learning how to schedule everything out evenly so that I can have time for work, have time for both of my sports, and then have time for school. And I would set timers throughout the afternoon for when I want to set specific time for school so that I'm not overworking or like doing too much of one thing and that I have time to rest as well.
So listeners, this episode is all about Sarahya's perspective. And so your mom and I were talking, and so your mom works for the school district as well. And so, she was one of like our trailblazers to get really modern classrooms into the schools that she's at. And so your mom mentioned that you were a bit hesitant about our model at first, and you were just like, oh my gosh, what is this mess? Why are we doing this? So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I'm a visual learner, and I've always been like that. If a teacher isn't right in front of me, showing me physically how to do it, I would not get in and be like, I don't get this. I'm not even going to try. And when I started my freshman year and they told me that I would have to learn things from videos, I was like, there's no way, because I'm somebody who asks a lot of questions. Like, I'm always going up to the teacher and asking more and more questions. If I don't get the slightest thing, then I'm like out of whack and nothing makes sense. So I was just like, there's no way this is going to work. I need a teacher to be in front of me. I was complaining. I'd come home and be like, Mom, I can't do this. They want me to watch a video and then have to show it in my test or all this. And I was like, why are they doing this? It didn't make any sense. But then I slowly realized it kind of is kind of good. Like, there's not really a negative factor of any of it. So.
And how did you determine that? Because this is often what so I work with a lot of educators, right? And I often hear from educators like, oh, it's videos. Like, this is not really teaching students. And also, like, I have a lot of students who don't want to do this, who don't want to watch the video. So then for you as a student, like, tell us about the moment that it shifted to where you were like, oh, wait a minute, this is actually pretty cool. This is something that I actually kind of like. How did that shift for you? When did it shift for you?
I would say the middle of first semester freshman year, honestly. I had a teacher who very much enjoyed videos, and she's done them for like probably a few years now. And she was my math teacher, actually. And she would give us like 2 videos a day to watch. And I was like, okay, this is really fast. I can't do this. This was a little overwhelming. And then I realized that with the videos and the fact that the mastery check was super short and all that, I would come home and be able to do things way faster. And I realized I can get things done at my own pace and that I don't need to wait for a teacher to show me how to do it. If I want to do it, I can learn it right now. And I think it was really eye-opening because I realized with my busy schedule, I have time to do this whenever I need to, instead of waiting for a teacher to slowly show me all this stuff or come right in front of me and show it to me. And the videos really just, I don't even know how to explain it. They tell the lesson way quicker.
Yeah. How did you create a process for you where you are watching the videos and you're asking questions?
Yeah, so honestly, what I would do is I would watch the video, and as I'm watching the video, write down the questions I have on like a notebook next to me or something if I was doing it at home, so I could bring it to school the next day while I'm in person with my teacher and say, hey, I had a question on this one subject. Could you help me with that? And then she'd help me out on that, and then I can bring it back to my work or like the video and be like, okay, now I get it.
Okay, so there's still a process. So you're still able to ask your questions.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because we don't want you to not ask questions. And I'm glad that you're able to kind of find that balance so that you can continue interacting with your teachers as well.
When you're in a classroom that has modern classroom and that you're watching the videos, almost every student or friend that I know liked it because they kind of switched their perspective on it. Because in middle school, when we weren't doing any of this, we were like, no, I don't want to watch a video. I need a teacher in front of me showing me how to do this. And then freshman year, when it switched, and the second semester, we actually had a teacher in math who taught right in front of us. We were like, we want to go back. This is so much slower. It seemed like we weren't learning anything as well. And we're just like, this is way too slow. It doesn't even feel like school anymore. And we wanted to go back.
We hear that time and time again, Sarahya. Like our students would say, no, we want to go back to traditional teaching. And then they are like 10 minutes into a traditional set and they're like, never mind. We hate it.
Yeah.
Stop. We want to go back.
I think it really shows the amount of like individuality you have to have and motivation in yourself, because you're not always going to have a teacher or a coach telling you all the time to get this done. Like you have to do it right now. You're just going to get thrown at it and you just have to know how to do it without somebody watching right over you and telling you everything to do. Like if you go to a job for a training, they're not going to like watch every single little move and have you restart. Like you're just going to go and you just have to hope that you know how to do it, basically.
Yeah, and we have so much information in front of us already, right? And so if you really wanted to learn a skill, you could. You just have to like be passionate about it, interested, curious, and also like motivated to continue learning that skill, right? And so I love this thing about the individuality part, right? Like, okay, I get to really cater to like my learning style and continue learning without hindering anyone else. Like I'm going on my speed. And so that itself is just so powerful because, sorry, I'm an adult now and I feel like I'm still working on these skills and I think I'll forever be working on these skills because I just started out so late. Like I was in school when, you know, my teachers and my professors would literally just talk for 45 minutes straight and then be like, okay, have fun. Good luck.
Yeah.
So I'm learning how to chunk it, like you said, right? Learning how to like prioritize the tasks that I need to do. The whole must do, should do, and aspire to do has really helped my own life as an adult. So I'm really excited, you know, to have you as a sophomore being like, oh, I can now like prioritize. I can now manage my time and I can also figure out what questions I need to ask and advocate for myself so that I still get the guidance and support and the answers that I need.
I 1,000,000% think that there's way less homework because when you have the videos and you're in class, it's so much easier to get through it quicker. If you have a teacher that's teaching right in front of you, a lot of times they take up the whole class period. Then you go home to do all this homework and you can't ask any questions. If you have the videos and all of that, you can get it done quicker and then you can ask questions in class still. And then you have most of the time free time as well. And then the teacher doesn't have to go up to every single individual student, answer all of these questions, and they don't have to waste all their time standing in front of you teaching you and waiting for the kids to raise their hand and having to call on everyone individually. It's just a lot smoother, quicker, lighter, and they definitely enjoy it probably more.
Oh man. I know definitely like I always had fun in the classroom as a teacher. But that was it. Like I could tell what my students really liked as human beings, but then I couldn't tell you what they were able to do academically because there were just so many different types. And then I implemented the model and I was like, wait a minute. I know exactly what student A and student B needs. And so it becomes such a, like you said, I could breathe a little better. Like it was just like a nice refresher of just like, oh, I can sit back. I can like really take in all the learning that's happening. And then I can go sit with like student A and like just share stories and really, and maybe distract them for like 5 minutes because I'm bored and I have nothing to do, but then it doesn't distract anyone else. And so I really, yes, awesome. That this is really good to hear from a student's perspective too, because I, again, wholeheartedly believe that like when teachers are happy, students are happy.
Do not just throw this at your students without you kind of looking into it at first. You have to, I think if you connect to it first and try to do a little example to see how you react to it, and then you're like, hey, this is actually kind of easy, and then you give it to your students, and slowly but surely they'll start to like it. I think in the beginning, they're definitely going to be like, nope, I don't want this. Can we just go back? You have to be like, no, this is good. I understand that it's going to turn out well, and then you're going to be able to connect with your students more and just get on a better level with your students. And I think if you're talking in front of them for the whole time, you'll probably look around and notice that your students, maybe there's somebody sleeping in the back or it's just taking too long and just kids are already like, I'm ready to go to the next period. Oh my gosh, I can't handle this. When it's fast paced, kids stay more engaged and they're not dreading it as much to go to your class.
And how can educators nurture these students to like basically to empower them and own their learning? What do you think educators can do?
I think depending on the student, if you kind of, let's say the rest of the students are getting it, they understand it. If you kind of just sit down with them and maybe they play the video while you're next to them, just so that you know that there's a teacher there if I don't understand this, and just kind of push them just a little bit, but while you're with them and understanding like, hey, they may not like this, so I'm just going to pay a little bit more attention to them just so that they can get going.
Yes, acknowledging the fact that like, hey, you know what? You don't like this. Let's talk about why you don't like this. And also I am here as a support if you need to. If you need to ask questions, like you said, right? Thank you. If you could tell educators anything, doesn't have to be about self-pacing, what do you think it would be? What would you tell educators who are listening to this podcast? I mean, school leaders are also listening. What would you tell them as a student, as a sophomore, as a student athlete?
I would say the biggest thing is get to know your students, because everyone has their different ways of learning. And there might be this one kid that gets it done super duper fast. They never have questions. They're insanely smart. They love it. But then you could see somebody that is a little quiet in the corner. You can tell they're struggling, but you're not going to go up to them. If you know that student well, you might know, hey, maybe I just come around, ask them a few questions if they need help or anything. Because if you don't know your students, what's the point of teaching them? If you're going to be a teacher without actually knowing the person, you're not really succeeding in what you're trying to prove in being a good teacher, in my opinion.
You and I both have the same opinion.
I think in the future, just to have school not being as much of a drag, like you get to school and you're excited because you will have all this free time after watching all these videos and like doing all this shorter learning, and you can kind of just connect everything together in the end. And then you see students more excited to come to your class. They're talking more. They're not in their little desks in rows, just sitting there with paper and pencil. Just like, I don't like the idea of school being just, you're sitting there learning, you go home to do more school after those 8 hours more learning. I want like more rest, more relaxation, more liking your teachers, talking to your friends. And it's just lighter on you, I think.
And we're gonna do that. We're gonna manifest that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find links to topics and tools we discussed in our show notes for this episode. And remember, you can learn more about our work at www.modernclassrooms.org, and you can learn the essentials of our model through our free course at learn.modernclassrooms.org. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at modernclassproj, that's Proj. We are so appreciative of all you do for students and schools. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.